Dr. Bawumia also has been promising Ghanaian businesses that they will receive tax amnesty in 2025 on their operations. Now, the move will be part of efforts of the country's transition to the flat tax rate system, where every Ghanaian would have to pay a single rate on taxable goods and services. Vice President Dr. Bawumia made this pledge when he engaged some of the importers and exporters in the country. Well, President Akufo-Addo in the December general elections has also pledged that he would live up to the expectations of Ghanaians, making sure he hands over power when the time is due. Let's get more on this because we're on the campaign trail. Let's bring in Professor Lord Mensah. He's an associate professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School. Thank you for your time here on Newsdesk. Now, it's a campaign season across board. It's the campaign season, and a lot of the presidential candidates for the various parties have been making pledges. Now, key among them is to cut down on the tax burden on the business community. But we want to find out how feasible is this?
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity, and good morning to your viewers. You see, some of these promises, we may have to be careful, are promises that may win elections, but at the end of the day, it will come at a cost to the economy. The reason why I'm saying this is that we're talking about flat rate, but then we've already gone into a program with IMF, which we made projections with the variable rate that we have. Remember, tax to GDP is around 14%, and in the IMF program, we promised that by the end of the program, we should be able to raise it to, 18% to GDP. And so you ask yourself, if you are introducing flat rate, at what threshold would that be to make up for this, agreement that we have with the IMF? I mean, if the economy has gotten to a point where we think flat rate is good, we may have to do a thorough assessment to see, whether indeed the flat rate that is being promised is ideal or not. But from where I sit, I think we're not in the economic condition that requires, a flat rate, because we need a revenue, and we've been complaining about government revenue here and there, and especially when government is not ready to cut down expenditure to the tune that will have impact on our budget. So from where I sit, I think, it's a promise that may win, elections, but then in the end, it may come at economic cost to the state.
So if we're scrapping key taxes like the e-levy, like Dr. Bawumia has promised to, and the road tolls are not functioning, what alternative source of funding do you think government can explore to ease the burden on the business community, but still meet up with their financial expectations for the year?
Of course, government, has promised of, reducing the number of ministers and then reducing governance expenditure. And so if you reduce expenditure, then obviously, giving way to taxes, is something that you can easily absorb on your balance sheet. But then we have to be careful, like I said, because if we don't determine the threshold very well, we're going to have a problem with the impact not being evenly distributed. Those importers, some of them import more than others. And if you are giving way for a flat rate, then you should ensure that the multiplier effect of their product that they are importing into the economy will be so huge that when you are taxing within the economy, you make up for the possible losses that you have as a result of, providing this flat rate. So I think it needs to be thought through well.
Experts have argued that overburdening the business community with excessive tax, it's a problem. But then looking at how we deal with our business community in Ghana, what ways do you feel government moving forward can help them, but yet not hurt their coffers financially? Because we're looking at across the country, the business community, they complain that it's becoming increasingly difficult to do business in Ghana.
Yeah, on the surface, it is becoming difficult because we know levies that are being introduced at the port, and then also inflation, prices of goods and services also going up. I mean, it is expected that doing business will be difficult in general. But the question I always ask myself is, most of these businesses are informal, and therefore they're operating underground. Nobody knows, the exact profit they are making. And so therefore, to determine their after-tax profit has always become a problem. And so when you are negotiating with them, it's like you are negotiating from the blind side, which you don't know much information about what is happening in their books. And so from where I sit, the only way government can help them better and better help them is to, make sure that, they disclose. And when you disclose, that is when government will get to know that indeed the taxes that are being introduced, the levies, are sweeping away your profit. And as a result of that, you are not making anything. But as we're speaking now, it's like we're just making, statements, from spaces that we don't have much information on.
Thank you for your time here on Newstext. Now, let me also bring in Clement Boateng. He's the first national vice of the Ghanaian Union of Traders Association. Professor Lord Mensa, just stay with me. Don't leave yet. Let me bring in Clement Boateng. Now, Clement, thank you for your time here on Newstext. What will it mean to the trade community if some of these taxes are reduced?
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Boateng, I can hear you loud and clear. I'm hoping you can hear me. Thank you for your time here on Newstext. Now, we're finding out from you what it will mean for the trade and commerce sector if some of these taxes are cut down and reduced.
Yes, good morning to your cherished listeners.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I think you are all aware that Gouda has been complaining for quite some time now for the high cost of doing business in this country. Because if you import goods to the port and you are going to clear those goods, you have to contend with about 22 levels in taxes that you have to pay before you'll be able to clear your goods. And as you all know, we have various duty regimes for every item that you are supposed to pay. Some are 25%, some are 30%, some are 35%. So depending on the duty rate that you are supposed to pay, if you aggregate all the duties that you are supposed to pay, you are to pay about 50 or 55% of your import value. So assuming you brought goods worth maybe $100,000, that means you are supposed to pay maybe about 50,000 or 45,000 or 50,000 as your duty component. And we think it is not the best interest to business. It doesn't augur well to business. It has a very negative impact on business. Coupled with interest rates, coupled with inflation, coupled with CD depreciation that we are even currently contend with. We think all does not augur well for business, and that is the reason why we have called on government, to try as much as possible to, address the issue of duties. If you even talk about the benchmark reduction, because in 2019, we're in the same page, and we call on government, to do something about duty rates, and it was there that government, brought in a benchmark reduction where 50% across goods and then 30% on cars. But benchmark reduction has been taken away since last year. So we are back to the status quo. And if you also look at the weekly review of the exchange rate at the port, which the benchmark as the duties that you have to pay, it also goes to compound the whole situation. And that is why we've called on government to try as much as possible to do something about that.
To Professor Lord Mensa, and he argues that the business community have been making this demand for quite a long time now. But you fail to declare your expenditure, you fail to declare your revenue. So how can then government come to your aid? Is this something the business community is willing to do moving forward? If all the businessmen in your union decides to declare their data, their documents, expenditure, revenue, so that government knows that, okay, this is how much we're working with, and this is what we can do to fix the problem. Is it something you're willing to consider?
No, how do we, if Prof talks about businessmen failing to declare their income or their revenue, I'm not in agree with Prof, because currently, with even the introduction of Ghana card, there is no way that you can escape, payment of your taxes, because once your goods comes to the post and your Ghana card is indicated, because already it has been captured in the icons. So how can you run away with payment of taxes? You can never do that. You can contact GRA every now and then. GRA is on our neck. And at the end of every year, you have to send in your statement of account for GRA to assess you and give you the required taxes that you are supposed to pay. So you cannot escape that. So if Prof says that, I am not in agreement. As far as I'm concerned, people are paying taxes as they have been assigned by GRA to pay. But what we have been complaining is also about the VAT, because we think the structure of the VAT is not in the best form, because we cannot live in a situation whereby we are all doing business in the same market, but then we have three forms of payment of VAT. We have people who are in the standard regime, we have people who are in the flat rate regime, and we have people who, by the way of not falling into the threshold of the bracket that GRA is requiring, they don't pay the VAT. And we are all in the same market, doing the same business. And the customer or the consumer who is also coming to buy is under no compulsion, to buy from a VAT registered person. So it puts those that are registered either in the standard or in the flat rate at a disadvantageous position. And that is why we have called for the restructure of the VAT. But apart from that, if you want to talk about domestic tax, everybody doing business is paying.
Everybody. Government has complained on several occasions that they need to broaden or widen the tax net, because there are some members of the business community that are failing to even declare or even be taxed. Now, you as a union, I'm sure with some of your members, you have the data and the figures. And that's what we're asking you. Is this something you're willing to consider?
We have had a very good relationship with GRA. And every now and then, we do workshops, we do seminars with GRA. So what you said, that government should broaden its tax rate, is something that we have also, suggested to GRA. Because don't forget, it is not people who are in the shops or people who are selling on the tabletops are those that are required to pay tax. We have artisans, we have people doing carpentry jobs, we have people doing masonry jobs, we have people doing electrical jobs, and all those people must be captured into the bracket to pay tax. And we have also even be advising GRA that they need to embark on a serious registration of everybody in the market, so that they will be able to capture everybody in the market, because we don't want a situation whereby sub A has registered and then sub B hasn't registered. But if you are able to capture everybody in the market, then at least if everybody is paying something small, government can then be able to realize its revenue. But not that those that are affected into the data of GRA are those people that every day GRA is on their neck, making sure that they have to pay taxes. No, I think that is not the best.
Thank you so much, Clement Boateng. Let's stay with Professor Mensah a bit longer, because government says it has reached an agreement with its official creditor committee on debt treatment. Prof, what does this mean to us, and how will it impact the economy?
Yeah, it means a lot. I mean, this is tied to the release of the IMF third tranche, the 360 million that is expected. And the signal that we've gotten an MOU with them, I mean, tells you that, yes, there's something good coming. And that is why possibly we've started seeing some, temporal stability in the exchange rate on the market. And so, I mean, the exchange rate as we speak now it's been managed, I mean, mainly by the inflows that we're expecting from this IMF program. So far, we've not put up any structural, short-term measures that will, ensure that we get, the exchange rate stability. But, I mean, effectively, once we have this agreement, happening, that it has been announced, the signal is positive. And that's why we see this stability, the temporal stability in the exchange rate.
Thank you so much for your time here on News Desk, Professor Lord Mensah, an economist. Now.